Hi everyone, welcome to question 3. Question 3 is about asymptotic analysis. So what I'm going to do in this video is read through the instructions, and then in the next following videos we'll be going through each of the parts to this question. So for each of the following methods, write down the tightest asymptotic theta bounds that you can for the worst case and the best case asymptotic running time as a function of n. So n is going to be given in the function, probably as a parameter, and worst case and best case refer to a property of the input. So for example, let's say that I have a function where if you pass in an array, the moment I encounter a 0 in my array, I terminate. So, and until I find a 0, I'm going to traverse through my array. So that's going to be my function. So in that case, what would be the best case scenario? And by best case, I mean what type of array would make my function execute most efficiently in the smallest number of steps? And the answer to that is if I pass in an array where the first input, the first element is 0, right? Because then I know that I'm going to terminate immediately. So the best case, it's going to take constant time. The worst case is when I pass in an array where either the array has a 0 at the very end or it doesn't even have a 0 at all. So in that case, the runtime of my function is going to be linear because I need to traverse all the way through my list, right? So as you can see, best case and worst case depend upon the property of your input, right? So in our case, if we tweak our input so that it fits the termination condition of our method, then it's going to lead us to a faster runtime. Whereas for worst case, we need to consider what's the biggest possible number of steps that we can execute, and what does that corresponding input look like. Make sure your bounds are as simple as possible with no unnecessary terms or constants. So what this means is if I have something like 2n squared, I can take away the 2 because it's a constant, and so it's just equal to n squared. And the reason I can ignore all of these constants or unnecessary terms, in other words, less significant terms, is for asymptotic analysis, we only care about the runtime as the input size n grows to infinity, right? So as n grows to infinity, these constant factors really don't matter. Another example is if I have n squared plus 1000n. In that case, it will also be equivalent to n squared in the long term because, again, n squared is the most significant term and we only care about the most significant term. And then finally, we want to assume that all other functions called by each method take constant time. So if you see any function calls that are within the main function for each part, then you can just assume that they take constant time. So they're not going to contribute much to the runtime. All right, and that is it for this video.